Hey, so CJ, thanks for joining us.
Dude,
And could you
happy
give
to.
us like a overview of your business in 30 seconds?
Yeah, I mean it's all wholesaling. We're in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and I just stayed the course. We've done it for 5 years. Started in 2019, me and my wife, and now we've grown a pretty big team. We're all boots on the ground, straight assignments, and we love it.
What's it like being business partners with your wife?
Um, that's a good question. Initially it was tough, dude. It was the two of us. Like, you bring work home every day. It's a challenge, but I feel like it's made us way stronger. We got through a lot of the big challenges, and we found our lanes. Like, I'm the visionary.
Mm-hmm.
She's a sales killer, a
Mm,
sales killer. And if we stay in the lanes, we're good.
yeah.
If you make decisions together, it can get challenging, but we kind of figured that out.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
many deals are you guys doing now?
Dude, we're ripping it, man. We're doing like 6 a week. We should do about 300 this
Whoa.
year.
Wow.
Yeah,
300 wholesale deals.
300 wholesale deals,
What would you make on an average deal?
like 60K right now.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah,
Holy cow, man. Great job.
yeah, it's crazy.
What were you trying to accomplish when you started your business 5 years ago?
Dude, originally it was like I want to buy more multifamilies. Like, we bought a bunch of multifamilies because I just wanted the passive income.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking, long term, and it got to a point where it costs a lot to buy multis. So I was like, hey, let's generate cash fast. Let's start wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able to buy more multifamilies.
Mm-hmm.
But then the wholesale business became kind of a monster, and the rentals became like the redheaded stepchild.
Mm.
I just fell in love with it. Like, you're making now 60 grand profits on contracts. You're not flipping homes, and I just want to do more and more and build a business. And now that's my whole focus.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to make a lot of money. I bet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, it's awesome.
It's great, man. So you're buying multifamilies. Take me back to when you first got into multifamily.
Bought like a duplex 2017, then a three fan, then a duplex. I just read about the cash flow, the passive income,
Mm-hmm.
but it's slow. And in New England, where I'm from, Rhode Island and Massachusetts, like, these things are like 100, 150 years old. They're kind of rough. Your tenants are kind of rough. There's tons of deferred maintenance. So really, like, what you're doing is there's appreciation. You're building equity, but you're not getting the cash flow. I didn't understand that at the time. Like, I'm still learning every day.
Yeah.
And now we've just shifted. Like, I'm actually selling a lot of my multifamilies.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Like, dude, I want reoccurring revenue. Today, the wholesale business, like, it dies if I don't get a deal tomorrow,
Okay.
right? And I
Yeah.
make $0 in cash flow from my multis. I build equity, but they're almost at a break even.
Oh, because you bought them at like a higher price, right? Like when you bought them, they weren't going to cash flow, or
They're
is it
not
because interest
even.
rates have gone up?
I'd say like, interest rates have gone up, but I have a property management company that manages them. They're kind of incentivized to do a ton of maintenance on them all the time. It's how the
Yeah.
pay works.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? If I can access the equity without getting smoked on taxes, start lending a little bit, put it back into my business where we are really profitable, that's what I'm looking to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sorry about not getting the cash flow. Interesting that you learned that over time, and now you're all focused in on wholesaling, even though you want recurring revenue. Do you have a plan to get recurring revenue in some other way?
That's a good question. I'm figuring it out. Like, it's tough, David. I go through, like, do a really good at wholesaling,
Mm-hmm.
and I put like the blinders on. Like, people talk about, let's start tons of flips and all this other stuff, right? I'm like, no, let me just wholesale, right? So it's like, on one hand, I want to keep being laser focused on what I'm really good at. On the other hand, I do think, like, should I start lending? Should I start lending on all my own deals, getting 12 and 2, getting 13 and 3, whatever it is? That can be a form of recurring revenue, or just invest with one of my buddies who does it, and
Mm-hmm.
just get 10% while he, runs his business. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. Keep half of the multis, but actually start some of the cash flow off of the lending.
Got it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
say the best way to build a big passive income is to have a big active income. So you started with the passive, and then you realize, let's get more active so we could buy more passive assets.
Yeah.
And hopefully that your future purchases or lending could provide that to you. Would you have a goal? Like, do you want to have all your living expenses paid for by the passive income, or what's your goal, would you say?
Oh, man. I don't have a goal when it comes to the passive income. The active income, the wholesaling business, dude, we're dialed in. We have
Mhm.
crazy goals. I want to take over the world, man, with this wholesaling business. Seriously,
It
like,
sounds like you already are. I don't find many people that average $60,000 a deal, 6 deals a week.
no, it's
Not
rare.
many.
So, like, my team and I, we talk about it. Is this just the, like, Rhode Island, Massachusetts market?
Mm.
There's no inventory. It's super competitive. Where we are, the price point is nice. It's like 300, 400 grand. You have a lot of buyers that want your stuff. But we're looking to expand and see if we can, replicate this.
Is it typically a cash flow market? Do a lot of investors come there and get cash flow? For example, San Francisco, there's people who buy those properties and there's no chance it's going to cash flow because they have rent protections that keep rent from going up.
Yeah.
It's way more expensive to own that property than it is just to rent it as a result. But in Indianapolis, like that's a cash flow market. People will invest there from out of state because they want to have cash flow. It's easy to find properties that rent for more than the mortgage payment. But is the East Coast like that? Is it typically a cash flow market?
In my experience now, I don't think it is.
Yeah. But who's buying your properties? You said a lot of people want properties. There's not a lot of inventory.
A lot of flippers.
Okay. So they're flipping it.
A lot of flippers. We specialize in the 4 units or lower game.
Yeah.
So even if they're getting a 4 unit, they're going to flip it to an FHA buyer.
Yes. Why have you chose to focus on 4 units or under? Because I know a lot of people say, well, a little piece of a watermelon's better than a grape. And well, if it's a 55 unit building, it's only got one roof. You know what I mean? They're like a lot of reasons to push towards the big style multifamily. But I've always liked single family because I just know it. Curious why you've chosen to stay in 4 units or less.
So you buy singles and you rent them?
Yes, 19.
And that's like
in Indianapolis.
Game? Interesting.
Well, that's how I got started.
With me, my multifamily was all 5 units to 10 units. That was like my sweet spot. And then I would wholesale anything 4 or lower because that's where I could get like big prices.
Yeah.
People in my market, they start to get a little nervous with the 5 to 10s.
Why is that?
I think people are comfortable knowing what they know.
Yeah.
So there's less of a buyer pool for those. You might be able to make more margins, but what we're currently doing, I'm like, dude, if we can just like do 6 of these, 9 of these, 10 of these a week, whatever it is, let's just keep doing this.
Yeah. So you're really exploiting a secret that you've discovered. And you're focusing on that because it's working really well.
Hyper focused.
Yeah.
There's no major competition. There's lots of like moms and pops.
Yeah.
I think we got a dialed in dispo strategy. I think our sales is clipping. Like, dude, it's getting fun.
So if there's no inventory, how do you guys find these properties?
I mean, we spend a lot on marketing.
Yep. Which is through TV or radio or postcards?
All those. PPC, TV, radio, postcards, billboards. I mean, any inbound channel. And then we're doing a lot of cold calling, working with these agencies. So we are the cash home buyer. Like I'll talk to my team and I'll say, guys, where do you want to buy a hammer? Like if you got to go buy a hammer, where are you going?
Lowe's.
All right, Lowe's, fair enough. A lot of people will say Home Depot. Lowe's, same stuff,
same
right?
thing.
I want to be the Lowe's. I want to be the Home Depot cash home buying in my state.
Yeah.
Period. So it's like, let's saturate, have that omnipresence. Dude, the only reason why a distressed seller wouldn't call my company is for some reason if they don't like my wife's British accent on TV or something weird, dude.
Well, good thing most people like British accents.
Exactly.
How far along were you until you then started doing TV? Because you didn't just start doing all these marketing channels. You probably started with one, right?
Yeah.
What was that for you?
Direct mail. Direct mail was like the tried and true. It's still our best channel. But with direct mail, I think you hit a pretty strong law of diminishing returns, especially in a smaller market. Like Rhode Island's a pretty small state. TV was about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it's been awesome, man. Like it's not going to give you a 10x return, but for brand awareness, like if I don't go to seller appointments anymore, but if my wife goes on a seller appointment with someone who called off a radio,
they're
TV,
like, I've seen you.
It's you. I can't believe it. Your accent's real.
Yeah.
And it's just you get the contract.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger play when you've got the money to plunk down on it, and it probably commingles any other effort, right? When they're on the phone, they might have seen a TV commercial. When they're picking up the postcard, they might have seen the TV.
That's the thing. It's like I've been hearing you. I've been seeing you on TV. I saw your billboard. I finally got your postcard. I figured I'd give you a call.
How did you know this business was real? Who first taught you about, well, wholesaling's a thing, Because a lot of times when you're just getting started, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real until you do your first deal. Or you get into a room where you're like, oh, home investors, I've seen those billboards. Like that's a legitimate business. That tells me this is real.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have the opportunity to come to an event like we're at now and get around them if they haven't done deals yet. So how did you know it was real?
That's a really good question. And honestly, I was just having breakfast this morning with my director of sales is here. And he's been with like AT&T and Comcast his whole career.
Oh, really?
Right?
Selling internet?
Being basically like selling like phones in stores and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like been the district manager or whatever. And he's been with us for 4 months. He's been like, dude, I can't believe this niche exists in real estate.
Yeah.
Selling contracts.
Yeah.
But do you know who Cody Hoffine is?
I do.
So
Joe
Cody,
Homebuyer.
Joe Homebuyer, right? He started Wholesaling Inc.
Are you with Joe Homebuyer?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, but I love Cody. Cody's my mentor today,
Cool.
still to this day. I learned from him I think in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I feel grateful that I learned from him. The dude's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he taught me the game right. And I literally just did what he told me to do and then just tried to do more and more and more every year.
So you got a mentor. That's how you figured out it was a real business.
I got a mentor. I mean, him and Tom, Tom Kroll?
Of course.
They said, this is what wholesaling is. I was like, oh shit, this sounds awesome. Like, let me move forward with this. And it worked. And just kept doing it. Yeah.
I'm glad you got linked up with them. I'm sure in that time period, the Wholesaling Inc. podcast was very popular at the time, right? 2019?
Absolutely. It was huge. It was like,
yeah.
It was the one thing. I think it's before. I don't know when wholesaling like blew up. Maybe it isn't even blown up. It feels blown up in our niche because we know it all. But yeah, I'm lucky that I found it at that time.
Carl, he said that there's so much competition now. I was surprised to hear him say that because I feel like one of my peers actually published a report that said 80% of wholesalers left the market in 2024.
Really?
Well, I think that's a pretty good report to publish if you haven't been performing well and you want to make your investors be quiet, be calm. I don't think that's true, but I just,
What do you think?
No, I don't think that 80% have left the market. But do you think it's equally as competitive as it was 2 years ago?
I would say it's more competitive in my market.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's like people who hear about it, they're trying to get started. I'm competing with loads of those people. There's really no one. I got a couple CG guys, like someone in my area on the outskirts. I got no like killers in my area.
Well, it's good. You are the killer.
I'm the killer, or we're the killer in the area for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever have somebody come up to you and say, I want to pick your brain?
I do it all the time.
Do you do it? You sit down? Sometimes you can't handle all those requests.
It just depends, David. Like,
it's funny you mentioned AT&T. We just went to an AT&T store and the guy knew who I was.
Really?
Because he was getting into wholesaling. He was like, I'll work on anything. I'll do anything you want. But I was just like, well, it would take time to train you. And if I took time to train you, then and you might leave. It's like, oh, I don't know if that's like worth my time.
Well, what did you do?
I basically gave him like a hoop to jump through that he did not jump through.
What was the hoop?
I said, go sign up for this 8-video course that I created on how to get into wholesaling and give me feedback on your top takeaways. So he never did.
I like that. That's a good hoop.
Yeah, it's good to have hoops. I was just wondering how you were handling some of that. Because when you're successful, I feel a strong obligation to give back. But I've done it enough times and then the person didn't follow through or they didn't really want to learn or they weren't serious. And so it's just not a good use of time to invest in somebody that's not helpful, that's not actually serious, right? So I was just wondering, you've been very successful. How have you dealt with that?
I make a snap judgment. If I see a kid, and I'm mentoring a kid right now for free, and this kid is going to be a killer. I just know he is. Like, based on what he's done, the action he's taken, I'm like, dude, I got to pour into you, bro, because this is like, I'm going to help you, and you're going to take it and run and blow up.
Yeah.
There are so many people that just come up to you and like, hey, like you said, can I pick your brain? I'll do anything. What do you need help with? I'm like, dude, I don't need a job to like tell you what I need help with, and then you maybe not to do a great job at it. I don't want this. If you could provide organic value to me, you got to figure that out. I'm here for you.
Right. Saying I want to pick your brain is actually the worst way to rub elbows with a successful, busy person.
It's overwhelming.
If you are the busy person and you want to help, create a hoop for them to jump through. And if they do that, go invest a little bit more. And that's my way of figuring out how can I help people without completely wasting all of my time from everyone who says, hey, can I pick your brain?
So have you had anyone who has jumped through the hoops and actually had made a lot of progress?
Well, for when I hire, I also have test projects or hoops. And so even when somebody is coming through a channel that I'm actually trying to hire a position for, I always have a step like that so that they can jump through the hoop. So Chris, he actually did make some actual videos for me before we got on the phone and like chatted and were more serious about an interview process. And I paid him for that too. And customer support, I always say, okay, great. First step is send me a video that's 2 minutes long and say your name, why you want to join this company, and something about where you grew up. And a lot of them will actually send the video, but a lot of them will say, is it okay if the video is like done in 3 days? Is there a due date for the video? Well, how should I upload the video? And if I'm dealing with somebody who just gets it done, finds a way to send it to me, versus somebody who has a million questions before they're willing to take the next step, I'm definitely going to want to hire the person who's able to read the play, is what I call it, and just go ahead and do that. So I use that as a filter.
Right. Take the initiative and just get it done.
It's a little bit higher if you were going to hire like a COO,
Yeah.
right? I don't know what the salary would be. Let's say like $150,000 for your company. That person that's really skilled is probably already working a high-paying job.
Yeah.
So I do try to do like a quick 10-minute phone call, 15-minute phone call right away, just so they understand like I'm not like a scammer. I'm not they're too busy to do standard hoops
Right.
sometimes, right? So, but then I will say, if I was hiring like a COO, I would say, hey, just wanted to touch base. This is what the project is. I like you because of this. As a next step, if you're serious, I'd really love for you to do what a CEO would do at my company. I want to show you my analytics, and I want you to summarize where you think we need to improve. Here's access to all my analytics. Go do that, create a presentation, and present to me 20 minutes, maybe a week from now. So if the higher level position is, I think you need that 10, 15 minute call. So in real estate, one more thing, I've heard chatter in CG where everybody wants to use the PI predictive index tool, but it's a test that takes quite a while, right? And so a lot of candidates don't want to invest that much time for a position that they've never seen anything but a job description for.
Right.
And so I know like Phil Green was like, hey, you need to go, we do a 10, 15 minute call quickly. Then after that call, we do have them do the PI index.
Really?
So it just increases the completion rate for the test project hoop. For if you have to do that if it's like a higher level job.
Yeah. Interesting. We do a lot of, so there's a lot to unpack here. I guess my first question is, you've developed this process over time, for sure, right?
Yeah.
Is it a result of you hiring the wrong person, or like how did you come to actually developing this?
It started with the lowest level position that I hired, which is what you should hire first, right? Get those low level tasks off your plate. So when I was looking to hire somebody to drive around, look for rundown houses for me after I did a few deals, I knew that was a successful strategy. So somebody could do that I could pay $20 an hour. That'll cover their car, their gas, and their time. So I set up 5 interviews after I posted a job posting on Thursday to do back-to-back meetings Saturday morning. And exactly 1 out of 5 showed up.
Really?
Yes. And so that's when I realized I can't just trust these motherfuckers to show up if I don't know they're serious. So I need several steps before I set aside big blocks of my time for them. And they just didn't show up for so many reasons. They're like, oh, you don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, a million excuses.
Somebody said, oh, I moved to Florida since you talked to me last week. It's like, okay, I need a stage for you guys to do something before we set a time to meet.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, with me, I found that if we're doing a hire for a certain position, the amount of resumes we get, it's too much for me to jump on the phone with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll craft a message. I don't know. I'm pretty effective at getting people to take the PI. The initial PI is 5 to 6 minutes, right? So I'll have them take the initial PI. And if they come back within the range, I'm not as hardcore on certain personalities. I don't want to miss out on someone good. But then if they're ranged, then I'll hit them with like the 10 to 15 kind of vet call. And if I feel good about them, almost start to like pump them up a little bit. And then it depends on what the position is. Maybe we do more tests, or maybe we have them in person.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Is hiring and retention a challenge for you at all?
No.
Okay.
Hiring and retention is not a challenge. I would say attrition is a challenge from us letting people go.
Yeah. Got it.
What?
Why are you letting so many people go?
Dude, I think it's because it's been a short period of time since we've been building a team. I probably have done a poor job hiring, and I've learned along the way of who I need to be hiring. I probably have done a poor job of really setting super duper clear expectations and managing people. And I think just getting the wrong people in the wrong seats. So what's happened is, but I'm quick. Like if you're not a good fit for us and you're not like a dog or a killer, I got to let you go because I'm so focused on my mission. So what I found is that although now, dude, I have a great team. Our culture is strong. There is fear in the organization. There's always a little bit of fear of like, am I the next one to go? And that's something that we're trying to work through right now.
Got it. When I worked for a small company back when I was like 23, there was 20 people at this company, and one of my coworkers was immediately like fired but I had no idea. To me, they were somebody who did a great job.
Really?
Yeah. And I was worried for the next month or two if I would be facing the same fear. So during that next couple of months, I was not very productive because I was just worried. It's hard to be focused and do good work when you're worried. So when I started my own company, I really compensated to over communicate to my team about why I'm letting somebody go.
Yeah.
And some of my team members, they didn't understand. They're like, this is like a little bit too personal for you to share. And so you've got to find the right line.
Hmm.
But I told them this story about how I wasted months worrying as a member of a small company when my peer got fired, that this is why I let you guys know. We had discussions over 7 months about either performance or what they needed, what we needed, and how that wasn't aligning. And over a long period of time, we discussed this. They had a performance improvement plan in place for multiple weeks. And I tell the team that just so that they know they don't need to worry about their job if they're not having these discussions.
Right.
I'll tell them, I'll always tell you if you're not doing something that I need you to do. You'll be very clearly communicated with that your job is at risk if that's the case. And I really try to over communicate that so my team doesn't worry, because I don't want them to worry. And I also want them to do good work. And it's good for them, hopefully, and good for me.
Dude, it sounds like it's amazing for them. Like you're setting super clear expectations. No one's going to be blindsided, and you give them an opportunity to change their behavior.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing the things that honestly that we're really trying to implement in our business. You know, the guy, the director of sales I mentioned earlier, he's brought those performance improvement plans. Dude, I didn't even know what a PIP was.
Yeah.
No idea. I mean, how did you find out? Is this from your previous job or just
Yeah,
learning along the way?
corporations have them. I mean, I never got one, but I heard people talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. A huge inspiration and mentor of mine through like books is Matt Mochary. It's a beautiful book called The Great CEO Within. And he actually takes over Silicon Valley companies.
Mm-hmm.
He takes over as the CEO while having the CEO that's really there, like kind of shadow him for 3 months. And then he puts them back in place with all these new processes and meeting structures and
Wow.
communication tools. And so I'm not sure if this came from him or not, but we also have a structure for having hard conversations. And when we had 50 people, I hired 20 people in like 2 months. The organization had some stresses. People would not be happy with how so-and-so was doing work, and they would come like complain to me about it. And so that book, The Great CEO Within, it really gave me the tools to give to that person to go figure it out and then come back to me and say, oh, it's good, or oh, it's not good. And if it's not good, well, I have to figure out, were they willing to have the hard conversation in the right way? If not, then they need to go because they didn't do what I asked.
Right.
If the other person didn't receive the hard conversation very well, then I'm having a separate conversation with them. And oftentimes I'd be having private meetings with you, and I would have asked them both questions, not knowing that I was meeting with the other person, and say, hey, why don't you say this to the other person, see what they say. And then they would both meet, come back, and then it would work out. Or some people are just unwilling to do that, and then they need to go at that point. But right now, I mean, we have a pretty good culture. There's not a lot of drama.
So how many people do you have?
We have 32 now.
32 people?
Yeah.
And so DealMachine, this is your main priority? This is your focus?
Yeah.
Where are you looking to go? Like, what is the vision?
Man, we've grown our 8th year in business 44%.
Wow.
Because of the data that we came out with a year and a half ago. And this year's already up 30%. And then our biggest deal ever was just like $500 a month. And then it went to like $3,000 a month. And then we actually just signed like one of the biggest wholesaling companies that has multiple offices. They bought it for 10 offices. So it was like $6,000 a month. And now we have somebody who's just now going to pay $14,000 a month for like 2 million records per month. And it's
awesome.
It's property data that you're familiar with, but we also have a great deal of consumer data that's like matched with properties for the renters and the owners. And so it's not only a deep research tool, but I mean, it can tell you every Republican that has a pet that has credit card debt. You know, it's like you could pull that information from DealMachine, and that's like really been a game changer for us. So I think we're kind of sitting on a gold mine because a lot of people still think about us as just like a driving for dollars app, which has always been our niche. We've always killed it with that. But really letting people know, like I was just in the Collective Genius Facebook group. You know, Chad Young asked me how to pull double lots. And I was like, this is how. And like 8 other people wanted to have me teach them that. So I did. And then someone else wanted agents by how many listings they've done, and also give me their LinkedIn profiles. And they do agent outreach as like a primary source of
Yeah.
getting deals. They're like, we want to build a CRM. It's like going to really tell us a lot about this person. So I was able to pull that, give them that, so they could start their database for their agent outreach, or enhance it, right? Because they already do that business model, but they're wanting to know more. And we have all the personal info about who these people really are, what kind of properties they own.
So it seems like in your space, I would assume that like AI, tech, data, this is like critical, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I mean, if you're going to spend 10,000 on mail, you want to send it to the right people. And
So how are you viewing that of being an industry leader and making sure that you stay in front of your competition and all that?
yeah, I mean, we came out with like the unlimited skip tracing a year and a half ago, and nobody came out with anything like that until like a year later.
Hmm.
But if you look at the unlimited skip tracing that other people have, it's just phone numbers. And so they could say they have it, but when you look at DealMachine, it's the people's names, the owner and the renter, and then you click into it, and it's like, this is their age, this is when they were born, these are their relatives, these are their emails, these are their phone numbers, this is the wireless versus what's on the do not call list, this is their occupation, this is where they previously lived, this is their credit spending habits, this is their credit card. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
it's it's like it's not just click a button, get phone numbers. It's a wealth of information that you can also like just search, filter by. So far, I don't think anybody's figured that out yet. We just need to do a better job of communicating it.
Right.
And we have a lot that's not even like obviously exposed in the app,
Hmm.
that I'm trying to figure out, prioritize how we give people more access to freely search it. And there's a lot there already, but that's what I'm kind of trying to accomplish by asking the CG group, like, hey, what data, what if I could wave a magic wand, like what data problem are you having that I could solve?
Yeah.
So, and that's telling me more about how we could serve people.
Well, I was gonna give you some feedback. Like I know
Yeah,
you guys as the OG
yeah,
driving app.
yeah,
When I think about Deal Machine, that's what I think about.
yeah,
I actually didn't even know that you guys did data like this on this
yeah,
level.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that I was able to tell you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Well, what would be a data thing that would be helpful for you? And I'm just giving it away for free to people in CG who are saying, "Oh, I want this specific thing." So let me know.
You know, do you want me to answer that right now?
Yeah, if you have an idea.
I'd be really curious if I could overlay credit scores.
Okay.
You know, we have this shotgun approach where we send out a ton of mailers,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'm just trying to refine it a little bit. And I
Yeah.
feel like homeowners that have equity but who have lower credit scores are
Mm-hmm.
definitely much more likely to sell.
Well, good thing is you can do that now. It's in the app. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I'll walk you through how to do that, or create a little video for you how to do that.
That'd be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. Anything else?
Dude, if I talk to my director of ops, he can come up with a million things.
Do that and text me, and I'll give you the export or whatever it is that you need.
I will, 100%.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to this year?
You know, I'm looking forward to a year of what I could call consistent excellence. Like truly every week, month, quarter, the whole year long, consistently excellent in terms of the contracts we're signing. Like I don't want 11 and 2. I want 6 to 7 every week, no matter what. Assignment fees, the same thing. Like I want to hire killers this year.
Mm-hmm.
I really found that out recently. You hire A-level players that have experience, like decade or more experience in the field. Dude, you just level up. Like you exponentially go up.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for. And you know, we've been in Rhode Island. It's really southern Mass. It's south of Boston. We've been in this market for so long. I'm ready to expand a little bit. Nothing crazy. I don't want to go virtual. I like going really deep in my current markets. But
Mm-hmm.
there's some Connecticut markets. There's some Mass markets. There's some New Hampshire markets. Like I'm ready to kind of expand this thing a bit.
I bet with the success you've had in your current market, I understand you want to double that up.
I want to triple and quadruple. Exactly.
I'm excited for you to hire. I do believe that when you hire somebody who's got experience and you can go, especially when you have a lot of money, revenue, you have the ability to do that. I made a couple mistakes there where at our size, I hired like senior level management people to make, because we had 50 people at one point.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I need an experienced person to go run this team. And we did that. It was so much overhead.
Really?
Because well, in my case, so like the person that wants to make 200,000 a year, if they're in a management position, they're not going to want to do work. And so at our size company, it was just a big burden to have somebody with you're just paying them to manage people. And
Were they effective?
no, I don't think so. So I had a little bit of a struggle there. And at our size, I kind of I overhired a bit
Hmm.
on positions that didn't necessarily drive revenue. So 4 years ago, I kind of let that like settle down. I just didn't replace people. But we've done a lot. We've had good success with like player coaches. Now on the sales team, yeah, I mean, pay heavily for somebody who's in the trenches that's like
Hmm.
really, really skilled. I would definitely do that all day. But in terms of managing teams, like leadership teams, I found a lot of success with like a player coach type person who's not quite so senior that doesn't
Hmm.
want to get their hands dirty.
So what's an example? Like, give me a department where someone's a really good player coach.
Yeah, I hired somebody who was like in their 50s. And I say that just meaning like they've had a long career. They have a
Yeah.
lot of experience. They brought a lot of good things to the table, but they didn't like want to get in the weeds of making product decisions.
Hmm.
They just want to kind of to like manage or just like install a process and sit back and observe. Where at our size, I feel like we make the biggest gains when somebody is like taking full control and ownership of
Yep.
something so much so that they're like in the weeds, like reviewing every support chat, pointing out every day something
Hmm.
that could be done better. That's not installing a process. Like that's like Elon Musk style. Like he's going to get in there
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
find it and remove it or fix it direct. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I felt like it felt like a lot of overhead when we had those like higher dollar people. And maybe I just didn't select right either. But we've had more success with a player coach, somebody who's got management responsibilities, but is also like spending time selling or helping customers.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
What is your PI?
Oh, I've never taken the PI actually.
Really?
Mm-mm. I know. So there's a lot of discussion in this group about the with traction, right? Because you've got like a visionary and an integrator.
Yeah.
My business partner and I are both software developers. We both think big picture, and we both jump in the weeds and fix it. So it doesn't really like you know what I mean? We're both. And
Yeah.
so we don't really follow like for us it doesn't really work well to say, well, one person's the visionary, one person's the integrator. We both do both. And so it's a collaboration and it would feel weird if one of us tried to stop being visionary and thinking big picture. And it would also feel weird if both of us stopped like digging into things. So
I think I didn't mean it from like who's the visionary, who's the CEO, who's the COO. I'm just curious about you.
oh, okay. Well,
I'm
thanks. Yeah.
no, seriously, like I'm also
I've never
curious.
taken the PI, but I've taken some other Myers-Briggs
Dude, it takes like
stuff.
5 to 6 minutes. Honestly, you'd be interested in just
Oh,
reading
okay.
the results. Seriously, it takes
Cool.
5 to 6 minutes.
I'll do it and I'll let you know.
Let me know.
Or actually, how do I even take it?
Dude, I'll send it to you.
Okay, cool.
I'll send it to you.
Thanks.
I'm really actually curious, like, so do you do EOS? Or do you
Somewhat, yeah. I've read the book. There's several books, but like we installed meeting structure based on that.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, I stopped rating the meetings because everyone rated my meeting a 9.5 for a year, and I'm like, okay, we don't like need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I take bits and pieces, and we modify as we go.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So we were doing EOS. Now we work with Sharper.
Cool. Yeah.
And Amanda, do you know Amanda?
Was that in the Sharper group?
Yeah, she's
Is
in
that his
Sharper.
wife?
No.
Or
Amanda, she
she's-
ran Tennessee. No, she was COO of Tennessee Home Buyer for like
Okay.
20 years. Honestly, she's amazing COO.
Yeah.
So she came up with us on Friday. She's kind of running my team through the PI, like just like this is this person.
Yeah.
And you won't even be in the room. She'd be like, this is who David is, right? She'll describe you and it'd be like eerie, like how accurate it is.
Yeah.
If you heard it, you'd be like, holy smokes, this is weird, right?
Cool.
But I wonder, because she described me to a T,
Mm-hmm.
super extreme, like go get or whatever.
Yeah.
I just wonder if there are some people that are just like innately gonna succeed in business or some sort of like entrepreneurial venture
Yeah.
just by who they are.
So Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm sure you know, and
Mhm.
a lot of people know now. He started his agency VaynerMedia, and he put his brother in charge of it, and they were doing $2 million. And he was on stage a year or two later, and he had gotten it to $1 million or $100 million, right? And somebody was
Gary
like,
did?
yeah. Somebody was like, hey, what did you do that AJ like wasn't doing? And Gary was just like, I'm just me. Whatever it is, like somebody who's just unwilling to stop until it's like performant, it's just like a personality trait. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs
Yeah.
either have or don't. And so I'm not saying I'm like this magical person where everything turns to gold, but at some degree, it's just like a person like that will just is a good problem solver, and then they will try and do things, and it's not like one particular thing. It's just like them, like
Yeah.
they'll make it
Yes, the
happen.
person.
Yeah.
So at what point, or is there even a point where you would say, you know what, we've gotten to a certain level here. I want to hire like a CEO to run this thing who has a proven track record of getting us to another or getting to another level.
Yeah. Well, there may be a level and a point where I do that, but for me, I have a 50% business partner, and he is really important to the business, and maybe more than me at this point.
In what way? Where does he have value?
He's like a unicorn software developer. So we're both software developers,
Yeah.
but I started it, and then I brought him in early on and said, "Can you please make this look better?"
Hmm.
Um, and so he really did that. I let go of software development and focused on all other areas of the business. So I handled like all of the hiring, and then I handled going to conferences, interacting with customers,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. So if he would be a pretty difficult person to replace.
Yeah.
And I think we're both like fired up about the idea, so we're not in a hurry to like get rid of it.
Nice.
But if I were to go focus on another venture, I feel like he would resent me because he's putting in all the work, but I'm getting half the benefit.
Definitely.
And then I feel like the same would be true if I did all the work and he wasn't doing anything.
How long have you guys been doing this for?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Along the way, has there been any points where you guys have felt, even if it's individually or talked about it, where you've been like, dude, I'm kind of burning, man?
Yeah. So there definitely been a couple periods, because when we started, I think he was of the mindset he's going to build this thing, and then he'll just let me run it and he'll go do other stuff.
Hmm.
So he was working on like a smart trash can company, and he was doing and I did like resent that a little bit, but I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
I just kept going. And then we had some problems right when we was having a kid. So now I was like working around the clock trying to not disturb him,
Right.
And then after all that, 5 years in or so, I definitely got burned out. So I pretty much like slacked off for a year while he dug in.
What burned you?
Well, just like trying to solve problems alone for a long time
Yeah.
while he's making trash cans or having kids. No,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
But that was like it eventually. Yeah, I mean, you need like a break sometimes after a lot of stress.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I noticed like he was kind of upset at me while I was like moved to Austin 3 years ago. I was like kind of having a good time, like just not like killing myself because
Yeah.
I was just burnt out. And so he got a point where he's like, well, I want to be in control. I want to be the CEO. And I was like, okay, well, tell me more about that. Tell me more. Tell me why. And it was from that feeling of like, well, he's doing all the work. I'm getting half the benefit. And I was like, kind of reminding him of how I felt that way, like previous years. Maybe he didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say we've been on a good place now for over like a year and a half. And
Nice.
yeah, we have a thing in our agreement too, where if one of us wants out, it's called a push-pull agreement. So he could say, I want to execute this agreement and split up. The other person, well, no, he names a price as well. And the other person decides who buys it from who for that price. So it works well to prevent people from, otherwise it could be very like unfair, try to screw each other over about
Right.
value, right? So the way you start this agreement is you name the price, and then the other person says who buys it from who. Now, in our case, half of the business would cost more than any cash either one of us has.
Mhm.
So it would be like very interesting to see how that would play out. But at least you have the ability to do that.
Do you feel like you guys communicate well about how you feel?
I think that I've had more communication skills in the past, but he's definitely gotten better.
Mhm.
And we've had clear communication and transparent communication, like especially the last year and a half after we had one of those hard conversations.
Yeah. I think working with my wife, the benefit is you can't build resentment. I'm here, you're here 24/7. We wake up together, we go to bed together, we eat dinner together. Like if she feels a certain way and she's, not talking to me or whatever, I'm like, we're gonna hash this thing out right now. I have had other partners, like whether it's in the multifamily space or whatever the case is, almost always it feels like someone's putting in a little bit more
Yeah.
than the other person, no matter what. And that's when resentment can certainly build.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely can, and I'm super hyper aware of that. So it's one of the reasons why I work as much as I do. It still may not equal, his output, but I think if a lot of effort's being put in, it goes a long way.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we really kept it real, I think, on this.
Yeah, this was awesome, man.
It was awesome. Anything I can do to help you other than help your COO with data?
I don't think so. I think I definitely I love being around guys like yourself because, dude, I can just learn.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt I'm gonna read that book. What is it? The Great CEO Within.
It's a great book for
Um,
you, especially hiring people
and just
building
being
a
more
team.
disciplined.
Mhm.
Like and when I mean disciplined, dude, I'm a sales guy at heart. I'm a gut guy, dude. I don't make decisions off of data at all. I'm like, I feel good about this person. This person's it, right?
That can be good, but end up being bad.
For 100%. There's great things about it. Like, I make decisions like this. I'm super risky, but I'll hire the wrong person because I feel great
You
about
got a
it.
hell of a snap too. That thing makes me pay attention.
But yeah, this has been awesome, dude.
It has been
Appreciate it.
awesome. Yeah. Doesn't need to be a super long answer, but I got some rapid fire if you're down for it.
Let's go, baby.
All right. What do you say when people say interest rates are too high?
I say I love them. There's low inventory where I am, and that means I'm a good deal finder, so I have all the deals.
Where would you be right now had you not been investing in real estate?
I'd be owning my own business doing something.
What's one of your lowest lows?
One of my lowest lows, like in business?
Yeah. You don't have to say the worst one if you don't want to. That's why
No, that's fine, dude. I've probably lost like maybe 250, 300 grand on one property. It's just been an absolute nightmare for me. Dude, there's a story, so I don't know if we have time, but like it's just a nightmare. I still own it, but I think I can finally sell it in October.
What's one of your highest highs?
Oh my gosh, what a good question. Jeez. One of my highest highs. You know what I would say my highest high is? My biggest private money lender is my mom. And I would say having her retire from her job, she was a COO of a big company, and not having to worry about retirement anymore because I just pay her 10% every month forever.
Oh, that's a great feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good for you. That's awesome. What would you say to people who think it's too late to invest in real estate?
Dude, it's never too late. Like, go find a good deal. They're everywhere.
What was your first ever job and what did it teach you?
My first ever job, like legit job, I would say I was a bouncer. I was a bouncer at a bar in Boston during college. And it taught me not to drink. It taught me, dude, I remember I had this one guy come in. So like, it was an Irish pub in Boston, pretty rough spot.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude came in, trashed. And I was like, dude, you gotta get out of here. I had to kick him out. Like, he just wasn't safe. And he was looking at me, slurring his words, and he was like, dude, I work at Bank of America. Like, I'll always be better than you. I'll always make more money than you. Because he doesn't know who I am. I'm just a bouncer at a bar, right? And I just always remember that. Like, you don't treat people like that. But at the same time, I put a nice little chip on my shoulder that day. And I was like, all right, dude. It was just good motivation for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like turned it into a positive.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think there's a mindset you developed that allowed you to be successful?
Yeah. It sounds cliche because it's from Wholesaling Inc., but I would just say the Rhino mindset, Rhino mentality. Like, nothing will stop me. I will charge through everything no matter what. Dude, I'm going to get almost knocked out. Like that deal, that single family deal, it almost knocked me out. But if I don't get knocked out, I'm going to keep going, get up, and get stronger.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.